Have you ever noticed how a sweet treat can lift your mood? But sometimes, just a little while later, you feel tired, foggy, or even a bit down. Imagine this. You're sitting in your favorite chair after dinner, enjoying a slice of cake or a few cookies, and for a moment, life feels lighter. But an hour later, your energy dips, your focus fades, and your mind doesn't feel as sharp as before. What if I told you that momentary sweetness might be quietly shaping how your brain works and feels every single day? Before we dive in, if you enjoy learning about your brain and how to keep it sharp and healthy as you age, make sure to subscribe, and leave a comment below. Your support helps more people discover these important topics. And it keeps this channel growing with love and care for your brain health. Now, let's talk about sugar, something that touches almost every part of our lives. It's in our breakfasts, our snacks, even in foods we don't think of as sweet, like bread, salad dressings, and sauces. Most of us grew up thinking sugar was just an energy boost or a treat. But in the past 20 years, neuroscientists and medical researchers have discovered that sugar doesn't just affect our waistline. It deeply affects our brain chemistry, mood, and even the way our brain ages. You see, the brain is an energy-hungry organ. It uses about 20% of all the energy your body consumes, even when you're just sitting and relaxing. Glucose, which comes from carbohydrates and sugars, is the brain's main source of fuel. Without enough glucose, our brains can't function properly. That's why we sometimes feel dizzy or irritable when we skip meals. But here's the catch. While glucose is essential, too much of it, especially from added sugars, can overwhelm the brain and disrupt its delicate balance. One of the most eye-opening findings comes from researchers at UCLA and Harvard Medical School, who found that high-sugar diets can actually slow down the brain's ability to learn and form new memories. In a 2012 study, rats fed a high-fructose diet struggled to navigate mazes they had learned before, suggesting that excess sugar literally dulled their memory circuits. Now, while we're not rats, our brains respond in remarkably similar ways. When we eat large amounts of sugar, especially refined sugars like those in soft drinks, pastries, and candies, the brain's communication network becomes sluggish. Over time, this can contribute to forgetfulness, mood swings, and even cognitive decline. It's almost like running a high-performance car on cheap fuel. It'll go for a while, but the engine starts to wear down faster. Our brain's engine, the neurons, rely on a steady, balanced supply of glucose. When we flood them with sugar, those neurons get stressed. Too much sugar leads to oxidative stress and inflammation, two things scientists now recognize as major players in brain aging and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. And this connection isn't just theoretical. Dr. Robert Lustig, a pediatric endocrinologist and author of Fat Chance, famously called sugar the alcohol of the child. What he meant was that sugar affects the brain's reward system in much the same way addictive substances do. Every time we eat something sugary, the brain releases dopamine, that feel-good chemical that tells us, "Hey, this is great. Do it again." Over time, the brain starts craving that same pleasure hit. So we reach for more sugar without realizing it. But the tricky part is this: the more sugar we consume, the less sensitive our brain becomes to dopamine. That means we need more and more sugar to feel the same effect. This creates a vicious cycle, one that not only impacts our mood and energy, but can also lead to emotional eating and dependence on sweets to feel okay. If you've ever noticed feeling low, anxious, or irritable after eating sweets, that's not your imagination. Research from the University of London found that people who consume high levels of added sugar have a higher risk of developing depression and anxiety. Why? Because sugar causes rapid spikes and crashes in blood sugar levels. After that initial high, insulin rushes in to clear the glucose, and we're left with a sudden drop, what many call a sugar crash. During that crash, the brain struggles to get steady energy, leading to fatigue, irritability, and sometimes even sadness. But don't worry, this isn't about guilt or giving up every sweet bite. It's about understanding what sugar does so you can make smarter choices. Let's look at what actually happens inside your brain when you have that sugary snack, when sugar enters the bloodstream. It causes the pancreas to release insulin, a hormone that helps move glucose into your cells. The brain, which doesn't store glucose for later, relies on this immediate flow of energy. However, when insulin levels stay high for too long, the brain cells start to become resistant. This condition, known as insulin resistance, can impair how brain cells communicate. Studies have linked insulin resistance in the brain to memory loss and an increased risk of dementia. In fact, some scientists now refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes, because of its close connection to how the brain handles sugar. Now, you might be wondering, so does this mean I can never enjoy sugar again? Absolutely not. Life is meant to be enjoyed, but moderation and awareness make all the difference. One of the most powerful things you can do for your brain is to replace refined sugars with natural, whole food sources of sweetness, like fruits, which contain fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants that protect your brain from the damage. Sugar alone can cause. And here's something fascinating. Not all carbohydrates are created equal. Whole grains, legumes, and vegetables break down slowly, giving your brain a steady stream of energy without the spikes and crashes. In contrast, foods like white bread, soda, candy, and pastries hit your bloodstream fast, like a sugar explosion, which makes your brain go on an emotional roller coaster. If this video is helpful so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. It truly supports this channel and helps more people learn how to take care of their amazing brains. And tell me in the comments, have you noticed any changes in your mood or focus after eating sweets? I'd love to know your experience. Now, let's look at how sugar affects not just our thinking, but our emotions. Our mood depends heavily on neurotransmitters, chemical messengers like serotonin and dopamine. These are influenced by what we eat. When we consume too much sugar, the brain's reward system gets overstimulated. This can make everyday pleasures, like spending time with loved ones, enjoying music, or going for a walk, feel less rewarding. It's almost like your brain's joy dial gets turned down. Over time, that can lead to feelings of emptiness or low motivation. On top of that, sugar increases inflammation throughout the body, including in the brain. Inflammation has been linked to depression, brain fog, and anxiety. When the brain is inflamed, it doesn't signal properly. That's why people who reduce added sugars often report clearer thinking, better sleep, and more stable moods, sometimes within just a couple of weeks. Let me share a real-life story. A woman named Maria, 58, used to feel constantly tired and forgetful. She loved baking and enjoyed her morning sweetened coffee. But she started noticing that by afternoon she felt drained and moody. Her doctor suggested trying a 2-week low-sugar challenge. She replaced her morning muffin with oatmeal and fruit and swapped her soda for sparkling water. By the end of those 2 weeks, she said her brain felt lighter. Her focus improved, and surprisingly, her cravings went down. That's the power of letting your brain recalibrate. Now, science supports what Maria experienced. When you cut back on added sugars, your dopamine receptors begin to reset. Your brain starts to respond more naturally to life's everyday joys again. You might notice you feel more present, more balanced, and even more emotionally resilient. So, what can we take away from all this so far? Sugar isn't the enemy, it's the excess and the hidden forms of it that sneak into our diets. The goal isn't to quit sugar cold turkey, but to become aware and intentional. Look at food labels. Added sugars hide under many names: corn syrup, dextrose, maltose, fructose, and so on. Start by reducing sugary drinks. They're one of the biggest sources of added sugar. Replace them with water, herbal tea, or fruit-infused water. You'll be amazed at how quickly your taste buds adjust. And remember, every small change helps. Your brain is remarkably adaptable. Even if you've eaten a high-sugar diet for decades, it's never too late to support your brain's healing process. The brain has an incredible ability to rebuild its connections, a concept called neuroplasticity. By feeding it better fuel, you give it the tools to repair, grow, and thrive. In the next part, we'll explore exactly how to rebalance your diet for better brain health, the specific foods that can protect your brain from sugar's harmful effects, and daily habits that keep your mind clear and your mood steady. But before you go, take a second to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who might need it. Every share spreads awareness and helps more people take charge of their brain health, one thoughtful choice at a time. So now that we understand how sugar impacts the brain and mood, let's talk about what we can do about it, how to protect our brains, calm our cravings, and bring back that steady, clear mental energy that helps us feel like ourselves again. The good news is the brain can heal. It's one of the most adaptable organs in the body. Even after years of high sugar eating, research shows that within weeks of making small dietary adjustments, the brain starts to function more efficiently. People often describe it as lifting the fog. They notice better concentration, more consistent energy, and improved sleep. Before we go on, if you haven't already, please subscribe and like this video. It helps us reach more people who care about keeping their minds sharp and strong. And if you find these tips helpful, leave a comment below with the one change you'd like to start today. Let's start with something simple but powerful: balance. When we eat sugar alone, like a cookie or soda, it quickly raises blood glucose levels, then drops them just as fast. But when you combine sugar with protein, healthy fats, or fiber, you slow that absorption down. For example, instead of having just fruit juice, try a whole piece of fruit with a handful of nuts. Instead of white toast with jam, choose whole grain toast with nut butter. The fiber and fat help keep your blood sugar and your brain steady. 12018. Study from Oxford University showed that people who ate balanced meals with more fiber and protein had fewer cognitive dips throughout the day, their memory and focus remained more consistent, and they experienced less irritability. It's not magic, it's physiology. The brain loves stability. When your blood sugar is balanced, your mood follows suit. Another key is to nourish the brain with foods that fight inflammation and oxidative stress, the very things sugar increases. Think of foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids like salmon, sardines, chia seeds, and walnuts. Omega-3 help build healthy cell membranes in the brain and improve communication between brain cells. In fact, a 2017 Harvard review found that older adults with higher omega-3 intake performed better on memory tests and had less brain shrinkage over time. Next, focus on antioxidants, nature's defense team. Foods like blueberries, leafy greens, turmeric, and green tea help protect neurons from the damage caused by too much sugar and inflammation. Blueberries, in particular, are often called brain berries. A study from Tufts University showed that older adults who consumed blueberries daily showed improvements in memory and learning. That's because the compounds in these berries help the brain repair and protect itself. And don't underestimate hydration. Many people confuse low energy or brain fog with aging, when it's really mild dehydration combined with high sugar intake. Water helps flush out excess glucose and keeps the brain cells functioning smoothly. If plain water feels boring, try infusing it with slices of lemon, cucumber, or berries for a gentle, flavorful boost. Now, another important part of reducing sugar's impact on the brain is understanding cravings. Sugar cravings aren't just about willpower, they're about brain chemistry. When you've had sugar regularly, your brain starts expecting that dopamine rush. When it doesn't come, you might feel restless, anxious, or low in mood. That's why going cold turkey often doesn't work for long. Instead, try a gradual reduction. Cut your added sugar intake by half for a week, then half again the next week. As your brain resets, the cravings become weaker. A helpful trick is to keep healthy replacements handy. Craving something sweet after dinner? Try a piece of dark chocolate, at least 70% cocoa. It contains less sugar and is rich in compounds that can improve mood and brain function. Or make a bowl of Greek yogurt with cinnamon and berries. The natural sweetness will satisfy you without the sharp sugar spike. Also, don't forget about sleep. Poor sleep increases sugar cravings and lowers self-control. When we're tired, our brain's reward center becomes more sensitive to sugary foods, while the part of the brain responsible for decision-making becomes less active. That's a double hit. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep each night. Even a short nap can reduce cravings. Let's talk about movement too. because sugar doesn't just affect your brain through food. Physical activity helps regulate how your body uses glucose. When you walk, stretch, or do light strength exercises, your muscles take up glucose from the bloodstream, which lowers insulin levels and improves brain function. Studies from the Mayo Clinic and the University of British Columbia found that regular physical activity actually increases the size of the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. That's powerful, and it doesn't take much. A 20-minute walk after meals, gentle yoga, or even dancing in your living room can make a big difference. The key is consistency. Your brain thrives on regular movement. Now, let's address something. Many people over 45 experience mental fatigue and brain fog. These can come from a combination of stress, poor sleep, and diet, especially too much sugar. Stress itself raises blood sugar levels because the hormone cortisol signals your body to release glucose for quick energy. If stress and sugar happen together, the effect multiplies. This is where mindfulness and relaxation come in. Deep breathing, meditation, or even simple gratitude practices can lower cortisol, helping your brain maintain better balance. It might sound simple, but these small moments of calm protect your brain chemistry just as much as nutrition does. If this message is resonating with you, please take a second to subscribe and hit the like button. It truly helps others find this channel and encourage me to keep sharing research-backed tips for your brain and body. Now, let's look at what happens when you begin to reduce sugar. Within a few days, your blood sugar levels start to stabilize. Your energy becomes more consistent. Within a couple of weeks, many people notice sharper focus and fewer afternoon slumps. By a month, your brain's dopamine receptors begin to normalize. You start finding more pleasure in everyday life without needing sugar to trigger that feeling. Over time, your brain literally becomes more efficient. Your memory improves because insulin sensitivity returns, allowing neurons to communicate more clearly. You might even notice better sleep because your body isn't working overtime to manage fluctuating blood sugar levels through the night. Dr. Mark Hyman, a functional medicine expert, often says, "Food is information." Every bite you take sends a message to your body, and your brain listens closely. When you choose foods that balance your blood sugar and reduce inflammation, you're sending your brain the message, stay clear, stay calm, stay young. And perhaps most importantly, remember that progress matters more than perfection. If you cut back on sugary drinks, that's a win. If you add an extra serving of vegetables or replace dessert with fruit a few nights a week, that's a win too. Every small choice builds momentum toward better brain health. One practical strategy is what nutritionists call the crowding out method. Instead of focusing on removing sugar, focus on adding more whole, colorful foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds. The more you fill your plate with real food, the less room you have left for the sugary stuff. And your taste buds adapt. Studies show that within just 2 weeks of reducing added sugar, your sensitivity to sweetness increases. That means natural foods start to taste sweeter and more satisfying. Here's another real-life story. James, 64, used to drink 2 cans of soda every day. He thought it helped him stay alert during work. When his doctor mentioned early signs of prediabetes, James decided to make a small change. He swapped 1 soda for sparkling water with lime. A few months later, he realized he no longer craved the soda at all. His energy felt steadier, and he joked that he could think in full sentences again. That's what steady blood sugar does. It gives your brain clarity back. So if you've been wondering whether it's worth cutting down on sugar, the answer is absolutely yes. Not because of fear or guilt, but because of how good it feels to have a brain that works the way it's meant to. A brain that's calm, focused, joyful, and resilient. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways. Sugar fuels the brain, but too much of it can slow down memory, mood, and learning. High sugar intake leads to inflammation and insulin resistance in the brain, increasing the risk of cognitive decline. You can protect your brain by balancing meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Choose natural sources of sweetness like fruits and dark chocolate. Prioritize omega-3 salve, antioxidants, hydration, movement, and rest. They're your brain's best allies. And most importantly, progress over perfection. Each small step counts. If you found value in this video, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone you care about. Brain health is something we all deserve to understand and protect. And by spreading this message, you help others take that same step toward a clearer, stronger, and happier mind. Remember, your brain has carried you through every stage of life, and it still has incredible power to heal, adapt, and thrive. Treat it kindly, feed it wisely, and it will reward you with clarity, creativity, and calm for years to come. Thank you for watching and for being part of this growing community dedicated to lifelong brain health. Stay well, stay curious, and take care of your beautiful mind.